All right, y'all. My mama used to say, what goes up must come down. And honey, I'm here to share with you that Sean Puffy Combs, y'all, he was arrested yesterday after a grand jury indictment. Listen, I do not believe he saw it coming. I think he was chilling, relaxing, sitting back in his black, fabulous, rich life. And the boy thought, you know what? This too shall pass. But the grand jury said, not so quick. Not so soon. Welcome, kings and queens. Today we are talking Sean, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whomever Combs. Listen, his arrest, it came about a year after Cassie filed her sex trafficking charges and her abuse lawsuit. And I'm reporting directly from Rolling Stone, some of the information that they shared on this case. So almost a year ago, Cassie came out with her sexual abuse and her sex trafficking lawsuit against Sean Puffy Combs, right? Then in March, remember in March, if we back up a little bit, his home was raided. His home was raided. Now look, y'all, look, I'm going to tell you this. Follow me very, very closely. The clock is ticking. Let me say it again. The clock is ticking. If you do not understand what that means, what that symbolizes, I'm going to talk about it. Let's go. For those of you who are just tuned in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome to the palace. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television, but most importantly, I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience.
Subscribe now.
In the words of James Brown, honey, this is a man's world. But let me rephrase it so that I can be appropriate. This is a rich man's world. It is dog eat dog. And Sean Puffy Combs, the clock has started to tick. And I believe they are going to bleed him dry first. Because money is power. Money is power in Hollywood. And in order to render you powerless, the first thing that I would probably need to do is to bleed you dry. Now, is this a conspiracy against Puff Daddy? In my opinion, absolutely not. He did it. He done it. They allowed him to do it. But there are some key players that cannot risk being exposed. There are some key players, in my opinion, that cannot risk being exposed. And as a result, listen, bro, you got too much on your hands. So we gotta handle this scandal. We've got to take care of this. We've got to make this go away because there's other people that can be implicated. And if that happens, the chickens will come home. Or the roosters, however y'all said, to roost. The chickens will come home to roost, however you said. Listen, the clock is ticking. And I'm gonna keep it really, really real for you and really raw as it relates to this commentary. Don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if he's found in his cell. Don't be shocked if he has an accident. Don't be shocked if his heart stops working. Do you get my drift? Do you get my drift? And that's what I mean when I say the clock is ticking. There is too much money involved. There's too many people sitting in high places, too many perverts. Yeah, too many men in Hollywood that have appetite for children, too many women that have helped, too many people, too many of your faves that would blow your mind. But y'all ain't ready for that type of conversation. So let me get back to Rolling Stones. Yeah, Sean Diddy Combs was arrested in Manhattan, y'all. He was arrested in New York on yesterday. They said Monday evening. I wonder about what time. After a grand jury indicted him, okay? The arrest follows the raid in March that was conducted by Homeland Security. You remember in March, they raided his home. Y'all, they must have found something. They found something and they went through it. And ain't no telling how many tapes, how many audio recordings. And I do believe a lot of these victims, some of them that are coming forward, I don't think all of them are proactively coming forward. I think a lot of this has been some nudging, some encouragement by Homeland Security, the FBI, and the powers that be to say, listen, we understand what happened to you. It's going to be very important. We really need you to cooperate with us. We're sorry that this has happened. So I don't think not all of these people have woke up and said, you know what? This happened to me. I'm going to go file a lawsuit. I believe some of them were probably contacted because of the evidence that was discovered, okay, in the home in March. And then it was last November that Cassie filed her sex trafficking and her abuse lawsuit against Combs. And that went global all over the world. And then shortly, a few months later, we saw him out in Miami. Speaking of Miami, young Miami continued to roll with him until the shit got too hot. The block got too hot, and she kind of slowly backed away from him after allowing him to utilize her child for a media opportunity to help allegedly clean up his reputation. We're going to talk about that. So it was one day later, after Cassie filed her lawsuit, y'all, that he reached a private settlement, which is, people say somewhere within the range of 30 something million. I don't know the exact number. But since then, 8 more women and 1 man have come forward to sue him with the same allegations or similar allegations ranging from sex trafficking to sexual assault. Now, here's the crazy part about the grand jury indictment. It's sealed. There are no details. The details were not revealed on Monday, but the prosecution said that today the records are supposed to be unsealed. And I believe that they kept it under wraps. Let me tell you why. You remember the first time after they raided his home, he took off and he flew somewhere? He got on that jet and just in the nick of time? I believe he was tipped off. I believe he was tipped off the first time, and I think they wanted to ensure that they did not make the same mistake twice. And this time, everything was sealed. There was a private meeting probably to get this grand jury together. They probably kept those people in a room and did not release them until after they arrested him to ensure that nothing would be leaked. Because in places like that, money talks. In areas and rooms like that, money talks. You slide some money across a desk, you do a wire transfer, a direct deposit, a CashApp, a Zelle, whatever it is, to give somebody a tip, a heads up, you need to get the hell up out of here. And they were so slick with it. They were so good with it. They said, we going to seal everything. We're not going to make the same mistake twice. We're not going to be so open. We're not going to be as inclusive. Everybody's not going to be in on this. And therefore, I believe he did not have enough time to be tipped off and go wherever it is that Russell Simmons is, allegedly, okay? Allegedly. But they expect to move the unsealed, they expect to unseal the indictment this morning, actually. So we'll be waiting on that. But listen, after he was arrested, Diddy's lawyer came out and said that he was disappointed. He was disappointed. And he feels like it's unjust. Sir, please. But you know what? He is. I mean, when you have a client to the tune of a Pdiddy, you better say something. Like Denzel said, I'm leaving here with something. You better say something. And he came out and he said that he felt like it was unjust. And that Sean Diddy Combs is a music icon. He's a self-made entrepreneur. He's a loving family man. And he has spent the last 30 years building an empire, adoring his children, and working, watch this, to uplift the Black community. Oh, is that what we doing? We're going to sprinkle a little razzle-dazzle in there and mention the Black community to rally up the troops in the Black community to demand that he be set free and sent home. Child, please, get the hell out of here. P. Diddy don't give a damn about no black community. And if so, it's because he's scouting somebody's young daughter or young son that he can violate. Don't get me started. We don't give a damn. We don't give a damn. At least I don't. Do y'all? His lawyer then went on to say he is an imperfect person, but he is not a criminal. Sir, excuse me? Not a criminal. But you know what? That caused me to think there is a clear distinction of abuse that we've seen with Cassie. And I want to say this in the most tender moment, in the most tender way. Please be mindful that Cassie is not his only victim. I think it's so important that we are mindful of that and we remember that she is not his only victim. Kim Porter was a victim of his. His Misha Misha is his one of his children's mother. Everybody that literally came into contact with him in some way, directly and or indirectly, can literally be considered a victim. And I know Cassie has a lot of notoriety, and she was the first one that had the courage to come forward and file her lawsuit. But I think it's so important that we remember she's not his only victim. Now, there's a clear distinction between abuse, right? That's evident in some of these court documents, these lawsuits, these just all of the details that are coming out. But then you have the likes of, when you think about the women in the world, the Andrea Kellys and the little Miamis, that in spite of his egregious behavior, in spite of his darkness and his coldness and his abuse against both men and women, you have the young Miamis of the world, the Andrea Kellys of the world that would still line up, to be a part of the crew to get down on it. Because young Miami openly bragged about all of the things that were happening to her that she consented to while with Puff Daddy. So let me ask y'all something. This is very serious. When you have women like young Miamis, women like Andrea Kellys that stay in spite of, is that a form of abuse or is that consent? What exactly is that? Because that's a gray area. And I think that's something that we should talk about. And also, that's something that we've also skimmed over. Is he a predator in situations where women openly know what his taste is and what appetite he has for his sexual, whatever, his sexual desires? The drugs, the sex, the alcohol, the perversion. And they said, okay, I'm okay with it. I get an allowance. I do this, I do that. Is that consent or is that abuse? Where do we draw the line? And then does that make the women complicit to the other things that have happened to some of the other women and men who have engaged with him? Let's talk about it. Now, in his public response to the public, in his response to the public, Sean's attorney, Puffy's P. Diddy child, Sean Combs, Brother Love, whomever he wants to be referred as. Listen, I may call him a little bit of everything while I'm here. His lawyer says that it's important that we remember that Mr. Combs have been nothing but cooperative. He's been nothing but cooperative with this investigation, and he voluntarily relocated to New York last week in anticipation of these charges. And he's asking us as a public to please reserve our judgment until we have all the facts. Sir, I understand. And that sounds good. He said, these are the acts of an innocent man with nothing to hide, and he looks forward to clearing his name in court. So why would New York need to have jurisdiction? I don't know. Over this case. Because he's committed a little bit of this and that all over the world, right? So Cassie and her attorney said they declined to respond, okay? They declined to respond. Lisa Gardner, Rodney, I don't know if y'all know him. He's the first man that have stepped forward to bring charges against Puffy. They call him Lil Rod, Rodney Jones and April Lamprose. Their lawyer, Lisa Gardner, no, I don't know who their lawyer is, but their lawyer said that this has been a long awaited arrest, and this is the first step for their clients to receive justice. Now, in my opinion, do you feel like there's going to be a settlement and then he's going to be set free? Or you think it's up from here and it's above us now? Because he's in jail and I feel like the clock is ticking. I feel like they're going to bleed him dry financially. And then, in order for me to render you powerless, first of all, I got to take your money. I got to tie you up legally. I got to hit you with lawsuit after lawsuit, lawsuit after lawsuit, indictment after indictment, and I got to wear you out. And then once I wear you out, financially, physically, mentally, and emotionally, then I'll devour you. And that's what I think he's up against. Okay? That's what I think he's up against. So now, let's see, where are they with this? I believe that in early July, NBC News reported that a grand jury had been hearing evidence in relation to the criminal investigation. So a grand jury has been kind of sifting through this evidence since July, August, September. Y'all, not even 60 days later. Federal agents executed a search warrant in March, June, July. Damn, they're moving fast. Go back and they are moving fast. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I don't think this is good for Puffy. I support justice for all of the victims. Okay? Period, point blank. Listen, I don't care who you are. I started off this commentary saying what goes up must come down. There's this invisible barrier to me in the atmosphere, in the universe, whether you are a believer, non-believer, but I believe that you can only go so far with wrongdoing before whatever goes up must come down. I truly believe in that. And I think you've had enough time to change your ways. I think he's had enough time to change his ways and come what may. I think this is just the effect of the cause of his behavior and his actions. Okay? Period. Let's see. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, they said in May, Rolling Stone published its 6-month investigation into the mogul, uncovering a previously unreported allegation of violence against a woman on the Howard campus. New details of alleged physical aggression and claims that Combs sexually harassed a freelance employee at a party in 2001. Several people who spoke to Rolling Stone described Combs as a serial predator. Y'all, so many of them. So many of them in Hollywood. So many of them, the powers that be, rich, famous, some of your faves, both men and women. Serial predators who use his fame, fortune, industry status, and reputation as a fun-loving party host to hide a volatile temper and disturbing narcissistic behavior for decades. Yikes. They said that his fall from grace began with Cassie's lawsuit, where she claimed that he routinely physically attacked her and forced her to have drug-fueled intercourse with male sex workers during arrangements he dubbed, meaning he called them, these were called freak-offs, throughout their 10-year relationship. Now, I know a lot of people said, how come she did not leave? I don't know. Let's talk about it. Could it be that with a man like Puff, a man of that caliber can make some things happen? Did she even have a choice, y'all? When we think about the reach that he had, the connections that he had, what are your thoughts? She also detailed a 2016 physical assault at a Los Angeles hotel after a freak off, which was later confirmed by Unearth Hotel. Oh, so after the video that we saw with him chasing her and hitting her and dragging her back to the room, y'all, that was right after a freak off. That's where you saw him throwing her to the ground, kicking her, and then took her back to the room. They said he later threw a glass vase in her direction, and although Combs' attorney previously called Cassie's 35-page lawsuit a shakedown riddled with baseless and outrageous lies, he issued an apology after the video surfaced, saying that he was at rock bottom and was truly sorry for his behavior in the disgusting footage. Were you really, Puffy? Because before the video surfaced, which you thought that you had magically made disappear, remember he paid, I think it was $40,000 for that video, but it resurfaced. So up until it resurfaced, before it resurfaced, you called her a liar. You called her a liar, just like most women are called liars or deemed liars by these men that behave this way, that are abusive predators, sexual predators, some with money, some without. Okay. And you know what's so sad about it when it comes to this type of crime, this type of behavior, this type of abuse? You know what's so sad? There's almost this unspoken requirement of evidence that has to be seen before most people would believe a woman. Oh, yeah. We're not ready for that conversation. We're not ready for that conversation. But anywho, prior to that, he called it baseless and outrageous lies. He called her a liar, knowing damn well he did everything that she said he did and then some, and he had been doing it for years. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. After Cassie's lawsuit, 2 more women came forward on Thanksgiving, y'all, with similar disturbing details against him. I think Joy Dickerson Neal, that he claimed that he drugged her and assaulted her sexually when she was a student at Syracuse University. She said he filmed the incident, and he showed the video to others, which is described as an act of revenge porn. Does that sound familiar? So he's been filming women. He's been violating women. Lord knows how long. You know what I'm interested in? His mother. See, mothers that allow their sons to have this tumultuous childhood and they do not intervene by way of intensive therapy. I told you, these boys that do not receive therapy become predators, abusive towards women, verbally. You get what I'm saying? Are y'all following me? Verbally, in some instances, financially, sexually, physically, and or emotionally. Children who do not receive therapeutic intervention, children primarily that have been abused themselves, often 90% of the time become predators themselves. I have a lot of fucking questions for his mother. What happened to your son? Why did you not get him any help? I have a lot of questions from many other mothers out there like his mother. Why are you acting as if your son is not a menace to society, that your son is not vile, that any ounce of dignity that he's once had has completely left his soul? But that's your baby. Okay. And of course, with these 2 women, or with the Syracuse University student, he's completely denying what he did to her. And he says, this is a last minute lawsuit, and she's just basically taking advantage of the law, of, of, of a well-intentioned law. So he's denying that the story is made up, it's not credible, and this is a money grab and nothing more. Another young lady came forward and said she was 16 years old when Combs and Aaron Hall took turns graping her following an Uptown Records event in 1990. She further claimed that a day later, Combs turned irate and began assaulting and choking her until she almost passed out because he was worried she might divulge what happened. These are and Puffy, of course, his team responds and says that these are fabricated claims, falsely alleging misconduct from over 30 years ago and filed at the last minute. Same response that they had to the previous young lady. This is nothing but a money grab. This is crazy. I have another question. How are 16-year-olds getting around these men, mothers, fathers? How are your children? Not victim shaming, not victim blaming, but just a very tough conversation regarding accountability. How are your children getting out the house, disappearing for hours until the next day, escorted into these hotel rooms without your knowledge? How does that look like from inside your home? From a parenting perspective, from a trust perspective, from a privilege perspective? Are you giving your children that much leeway to go out and trust that they're going to be okay? I need to know, because this happened to this young lady when she was 16 years old. She's alleging that she was raped repeatedly by Aaron Hall and Sean Puffy Combs. And then he became irate and began choking her. Damn. A fourth accuser came forward in December, and she claimed that she was gang raped in a recording studio in 2003, when she was 17. Listen, we don't have to go through it no more. Let me just tell you something. These bastards have an appetite for young girls. They have an appetite to devour your children. They have an appetite to eat you alive, to do everything imaginable to your children, to these women, to these men, to these boys, to these girls. How the hell do we turn a blind eye because they have money, a little bit of power, a little bit of fame, and they make you roll your body, snap your fingers, and nod your head? And because you feel like their music is good, that you say it's okay, she's a liar, he's a liar, and we need to protect them at all costs. Are you kidding me? Is this a conversation y'all are ready to have? Because if so, let's take it to the chat. I said it before, I'll say it again. I believe the clock is ticking, and don't be surprised, my friend, if, if, if